Joining us now, Alfredo Ortiz. Alfredo is the president and CEO of the Job Creators Network. Had an op-ed in the other day on Obamacare going to the Supreme Court. Also, I said Sanders would be the nominee 1 year ago. Alfredo said it would be Joe Biden. We bet a steak dinner with their families, and I just had Kara ask him where he wants to go so I can start saving up for that because I'm toast. Alfredo, great to have you.
Hey, John, I'm not one to gloat, but I told you so.
I mean, the way the establishment, the empire, coalesced around Biden in the last 72 hours was an avalanche. It was masterful. Getting Pete out of the race, getting Amy out of the race, the number of endorsements he had in 2 days. I told Joe Morrissey, the senator, a couple of minutes ago, I got 180, I counted them. I got 182 emails from the Biden campaign in 48 hours, all people backing him. He got every endorsement from everybody in a day and a half. Unbelievable.
John, I mean, there's a couple things here. It's what I call kind of lessons for the Republicans. First of all, frankly, the Democrat establishment, no one coalesces as quickly as the Democrat establishment. I mean, that is the one thing they have always done extremely well. We should take a page out of their game book and understand how they do that, because they do know how to do this. When they coalesce and they want to win something, they really do a good job. We need to learn that, right? Because we just, as a party, Republicans just don't do that. We don't know how to coalesce around one person or one mission. I mean, I know we're going to talk about healthcare. This is obviously the number one issue that Americans are thinking about now, because, frankly, President Trump has addressed jobs in the economy already with a roaring hot economy. Take away, the latest issue with the coronavirus, because it's a one-off issue that he had no control over. But really, the fundamentals are incredible. But secondly, John, this was a win for capitalism. It was a clear rejection of socialism and the socialistic ideas. And my clear message to AOC is your days are numbered, because those kinds of ideas, and you know what, shame on Nancy Pelosi because she took her party down this road. She let it happen, and they are going to feel sorry for that in November, because President Trump is going to clean their clock. And I think in Michigan, it's going to not be Bernie Sanders. It's going to be Biden, because, quite frankly, that is probably his strong area. California, I wasn't surprised, right? I mean, free college and free pot. Of course, California millennials were going to go for that, right? I mean, it's, now I know with the drumming that Bernie Sanders got yesterday why he wants to legalize pot across the country, because he had to go smoke it last night after the drumming he got.
I mean, he could have gotten by with the night had he won Texas. Losing Texas, losing Massachusetts, had he won those two states, maybe even Minnesota, then he can continue with the narrative that he's the guy, and they're going to try to steal it from him. Really can't do that now. He didn't get the votes. You can't steal it from somebody that's losing, right? I mean, the voters are punishing you. There is no stealing. And as far as everybody backing Biden and getting Pete and Amy out of the race, hey, Bernie, that's politics, man. That's not stealing it from. Stealing it is when Debbie Wasserman Schultz changes numbers and they leak questions to at town hall meetings to Hillary Clinton. That's stealing it.
I mean, this is like Survivor, right, John? It's just the DC edition. That's all.
Right. Bernie can't win in the first ballot. Biden, even if Bernie goes in there ahead or the delegates are tied, Biden's going to have enough delegates where the super delegates put him over the top. So to me, when I got up today, Biden's going to be the nominee. It's going to be Trump, Pence, Biden, somebody. How do you beat Biden?
Well, that's why I got an open table, and I already made the reservations for us, John. So be prepared.
No, you're going to win. There's no the math for Bernie evaporated with Texas last night, coupled with the fact that his argument was he had, and it was a convincing argument after Nevada. He said, I'm putting together a multi-generational, multiracial coalition. That collapsed Tuesday. Young voters abandoned him. They didn't even turn out, as they never do, right? They didn't turn out for him, and he was losing the African-American vote in some states 65 to 15. He was getting killed. So those two arguments, They evaporated. I don't know where Bernie goes from here. Last night for Bernie Sanders was a complete debacle.
Yeah, and you know what? And you know what, too, John? I'm going to start tearing into these numbers as soon as they start really becoming available. But I want to look into the Latino vote because we've got three interesting examples between Texas, Nevada, and California now to look at. I think there's going to be something there to first-generation versus second-generation Latinos. My guess is that the first gens, the more recent ones here that have more recently come over the border are the ones that lean towards Bernie. And I think the ones that have been here longer are the ones that are leaning towards Biden. And so I think, we're going to start looking into that. But again, I still firmly believe, though, if you remember back to a year ago where I said, I think President Trump is going to carry 36 to 38% of the Latino vote across the country. I still firmly stand behind that number because, again, there is a clear understanding of what socialism is amongst Latinos in this country, and they reject that. Our Cuban American friends down in Florida reject it, and I think our Hispanic American friends, Mexican Americans that have been here a couple generations now understand that as well. They fled socialist regimes in their home countries. And so, again, I firmly stand behind that number. And even, on the black vote as well, Governor Scott down in South Carolina said it best. He thinks at least 50% to 100% better are the numbers that Trump is going to carry with the black vote. So we're talking 12 to maybe up to 16% of the black vote will go to Trump as well. And those two numbers alone carry Trump over as a win in the November election.
Well, look, if he gets 15% of the black vote in 2020, he's going to win in a landslide. He got 8% last time. If he gets over 10, he becomes difficult to beat. He gets 15. There's no way Biden or anybody else beats him. I know you've said for a long time that President Trump is going to get 40% of the Hispanic vote. I would be shocked if he did that. But, the number's starting to play out.
That's the high end. I think their good number is probably 35 to 36%, John. That's kind of my final answer on that one. I think is where he's going to land, and I just firmly believe that's where we're going to come in at. I think yesterday was a clear rejection of socialism, and that message is coming out loud and clear.
Well, I just saw their projection here. Bloomberg did win American Sonoma.
Yeah.
He got 6 delegates.
He got 6 delegates at $600 million for that. So 600 million. Let's see. That's
how much is? Let's do the math.
$100 million a delegate.
My God, it's a stunning number here. I'm going to do the math here real quickly while we're on the phone. So he spent $500 million. Does my calculator go up that much?
I think he has like a total of 25 delegates.
Divide by 25.
Right?
Yeah, let's see. So he spent. Is that 20 million per delegate?
That sounds
Times
like that
25.
would be right. That's some advanced math stuff, John. That only you can do.
He spent $20 million per delegate. It's like, did I misplace a zero? It's like he spent $500 million and got 25 delegates. That's $20 million a delegate.
Yeah, that sounds right. So then you need 2,000 delegates for the nomination, so just calculate that out. it's like bigger than the whole economy of the nation. I know, it's ridiculous.
Like $100 trillion. Bloomberg, for his own self-esteem, has got to get out tomorrow. Actually, if I was him, I would get out today and say, look, Biden's the guy. And I'm going to do everything I can to beat it. I don't know why I said.
Yeah, remember what I said about Bloomberg? He has the personality of a kumquat, right? You can buy awareness, right? I was in marketing. I understand what you can do, right? Dollars buys you awareness, period. So people were aware, but the problem is it was like, the Wizard of Oz, when they pulled the curtain back and they really saw what was behind there, they did not like what they saw. And so, again, I think Bloomberg's out. Warren is definitely out. My God, what a shit. I'm like, how embarrassing is that? Come in third in your own state.
That's embarrassing.
That is just embarrassing. So I think this is now, Biden just kind of keeps it going. I think the establishment clearly doesn't want Bernie. I think we have you have a Biden nomination
Trump.
here.
Yep, Biden, Trump.
Yep. So I think that's going to be. But one thing, John, if we could spend a couple of minutes, because I want to make sure we don't lose time on this.
Yes,
healthcare
Alfredo.
obviously is a big issue here. It's the number one issue, really thinking that that's going to be on people's minds. Unfortunately and sadly, the left is politicizing the coronavirus. Obviously it's something that needs to be addressed and it's being addressed. I think the vice president is actually doing an incredible job. That's what I do love about President Trump. He knows the right people to put in charge of different situations, and I think the vice president was absolutely the right pick, and the team that he's assembled is fantastic. This is a fantastic country. We are going to nail this, and, we have 9 isolated deaths, sadly, in Washington State. We know that they were in that elder care facility. But this is a situation that will be contained ultimately, and I think the fundamentals are there. I mean, I have to tell you, I'm putting money where my mouth is. I rejiggered my portfolio away from treasuries to securities because I think there's big opportunities still out there. But healthcare needs to be addressed, and clearly one of the things that's coming out is the American public clearly wants changes to our current system. But what we saw from yesterday is they don't want centralized healthcare. They want personalized healthcare, right? They want healthcare for you, which is what we're giving them as the program that we're rolling out, because we firmly believe that it's your health, your doctor, your wallet, your choice. That is what the American public wants. They do not want centralized healthcare. They want personalized healthcare, and that's what the Republicans are going to give them in November.
Alfredo, lost in the results last night and you just brought it up. We're with Alfredo Ortiz. Alfredo was the CEO and president of the Job Creators Network, who has created a healthcare alternative that I'm personally trying to put in the Republican platform in Charlotte in 2020, healthcareforyou.com. Go to healthcareforyou.com. Alfredo, all what we're missing here, and you just brought it out, this was a complete rejection of Medicare for all. This was a complete rejection of Bernie's takeover of the healthcare system in the United States with a single-payer system. I mean, what you saw last night, forget Biden, forget the deep empire and all that and the DNC. What you saw last night is voters, when they came out in mass, and the centerpiece of Bernie's campaign is a single-payer system, it got annihilated.
Right. And by the way, remember Senator Warren as well. I mean, those two have always said the single payer, the Medicare for all, rah, rah, rah. Both of them, especially Warren, got annihilated, and Bernie is getting taken down because of it. Right.
I mean, if you take both Biden and, of course, you had Bloomberg who mocked it and said it would be a disaster. If you take their total numbers, in almost every state, they were over 50%. So Democrats rejecting now the Bernie Sanders Medicare for all plan. So now Biden, what is Biden going to do? Biden's adopting the double payer system, or you get the public option
saying,
thing?
Hey, and everything sounds so benign with the Democrats, right? But that's what, remember, John, you and I talked about. We got to make sure the American public understands that these things are one and the same. No matter if you call it Medicare for all, public option, buy-in, it all leads down to single payer. We actually are running an ad starting today in D.C. that shows Barney Frank saying the best way to get to single payers by this, kind of this buy-in option, right? The public option.
Right.
This is literally what we're getting to, and what I think the American public is smart enough to realize this time around, right? Because Obama lied to them last time. Remember the infamous quote, if you like the doctor, you can keep it. Well, they realized that was a bunch of bull. Right, and they're trying to, say the same thing. Well, that's not going to happen. I think the American public understands. Even Democrats are understanding that, right? Suburban moms are understanding that. Don't mess with my patient-doctor relationship. That is literally near and dear and sacred territory. And they realize that that's what Medicare for All is going to do. Is going to introduce centralized health care, and they want personalized health care, literally the opposite of what the Democrats are offering. That's why we're so excited about healthcareforyou.com, John, because we really believe that this is the right way. Again, it's your health, your doctor, your wallet, and your choice, right? This is a plan that's going to be of, by, and for the people, and our research shows that this is exactly what the American public wants. They didn't want the centralized health care that the Democrats are offering, and we're excited about this. We really do hope that Republicans adopt this. We've gotten some great reception from our governors across the country, Republican governors and others, folks in Congress, and we just think this is the right way to go. And I have to tell you, there are examples, and one after another across our Republican states, run by our Republican governors, of how they have been able to bring in innovation to drive costs down in our healthcare system, and literally even try to work around the regulations of Obamacare, which are so onerous and restrictive that it's really keeping competition out of the system. And that's what this brings back, is that control at the state level and competition, right? So we can actually drive quality of care up. We can drive care up. We don't have to get in the middle of the patient-doctor relationship, and we can drive costs down because of innovation that drives competition.
You're absolutely right. Let me just read you a text here with Alfredo Ortiz. Got a couple more minutes. He's president and Chief Executive Officer of the Job Creators Network. Jeremy in Chesapeake, Virginia says, single payer is a disaster. Alfredo, I have a kid with a broken arm, and I'm paying $2,000 out of pocket because insurance out of network crap, and I pay $400 plus a month with an HSA. A lot of these we get on a daily basis. It's fascinating the way you look at this healthcare for all, your plan. My mission is to get it in the Republican platform. I talked to Steve Bannon about it. I'm like, we have War Room 2020, we have War Room pandemic. What we really need after the coronavirus is under control is War Room healthcare, because that's why we got beat in 2018. We got beat in that one issue, right?
Yeah. And you know what, John, what I want to be able to do, and we're going to be talking, hopefully here soon with Secretary Mnuchin on this, is I know they're forming the task force to help address small business. We should tie in this whole idea of onshoring, again, let's say 20 critical medical devices and pharmaceuticals, medications, and allow small business owners the opportunity to get a piece of that, right? Because I don't want this to be the too big to fail idea. Is I want this to make sure that we have an understanding of what we need to do to be able to drive these costs down. And the healthcare, the healthcare for you concept is what we need to be able to wrap our arms around. And as part of that onshoring piece, let's go ahead and give small business owners the opportunity to have a piece of those, piece of that pharmaceutical industry that we can bring back here. Right? Let's set it up so that we can give them a fund, for example, and not just continue to give the opportunities to these large pharma companies. Let's give it to small business owners, right? This is a huge opportunity to do a couple things right here, and to give the backbone of our country, the 30 million small business owners, an opportunity at having a piece of this industry, so that it doesn't just fall in the hands again of the top 2 or 3 pharmaceutical companies.
Alfredo Ortiz, you're so right, but we're out of time for this segment. I want to thank you for all you're doing for us and for what you're doing for this debate. Also, SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, is going to make a final decision on Obamacare. Alfredo, I'm out of time here, but I just don't think it matters now. Look, we're gonna solve this in the election of 2020, one way or the other. I don't think whether the Supreme Court upholds parts of Obamacare, strikes it down. I just don't see where that matters now. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. And now the oral arguments are going to happen probably in October, so the Democrats are going to jump on that and try to make that again politicized. Right. We're not going to hear from Supreme Court until after the election. Right. But we got to make sure that we get momentum on this healthcare for you idea, which really, again, is what I was kind of the brand name for conservative healthcare reform in this country.
All right, man. Out of time. Alfredo Ortiz, he is the man. CEO, President, Job Creators Network. Go to healthcareforyou.com. That's healthcareforyou.com.